Okay. Yesterday we learned about the sexual and asexual reproduction, the differences. Is it? Do you remember it? Amar, can you hear me, Amar? Okay. So today we are going to start with the sexual reproduction in flowering plants. So I will just show you a video and then we can okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to work through these different processes and we'll keep coming back to this summary to remind ourselves of how far we are on the journey of how a plant reproduces. We've got gamete formation, making the pollinating eggs, pollination, which is how the male gamete gets the female one. Then fertilization when they fuse together. Then you make the seed and the fruit, then you disperse that seed, hopefully then you get the germination and the offspring being produced.
Okay, see the sexual reproduction in flowering plants, all this consists of all these processes. Okay, first one is gamete formation. Gamete means they are the sex cells. Since it is a sexual reproduction, they need, yesterday we discussed, we need two parents for sexual reproduction. So from each parent, different sex cells will be coming and then both of them are joining together. So that is the first step, gamete formation. Gamete means the sex cells. Which are the sex cells in flowering plants? The male sex cell is pollen and the female sex cell is ova. Is it clear? So,
Yes.
So the male sex cell in flowering plant is pollen and female sex cell is ovum. And you know the flower is the reproductive part of the plant. So different plant parts have different functions, just like leaves are doing photosynthesis. The flowers are the reproductive structures of the plant. Okay. So both the reproductive cells, the pollen and ova, are formed in the flowers. Now, next is pollination. Pollination means the male sex cell, that means the pollen, it is transferred from one flower to another by wind or by insect. Okay, so what is pollination? Transfer of pollens from one flower to another flower of the same species. No different, like a pollen from an orange flower, it can fall on the apple flower, but it will not become a seed. Okay, so same species. If the pollen falls on the stigma, stigma means the female, that we will learn, then only it will be growing into a seed. And it is happening either by wind or by insect. Okay. Then the next is fertilization. This is the fusion means joining. Fusion of pollen nucleus with ova nucleus. Okay. Then after fertilization, what happens? The ovule, fertilized ovule. Ovule is the egg cell. The fertilized ovule, it becomes the seed and ovary becomes the fruit. Okay.
Okay.
The next is the seed dispersal. This is as a general only. We will go into detail. Each of them we will go into detail. Next is the seed dispersal. After becoming seeds, the seed has to be dispersed. It has to be spread everywhere. Then only from each seed, new plant will come out. Seed sent as far away from a parent plant as possible. Then next is the germination. Seed germinates and grows into an adult plant. Okay, so how many steps are there? It's like a cycle. How many steps are there? Gamete
Sex.
formation, that formation of pollen and ovule. Ovule means the egg cell. Pollen is the male sex cell. Then next is pollination. That means the pollen has to transfer to the female reproductive organ. Then next is the fertilization. That means female cell and male cell both has to be joined together. Then when they join together, the fertilized egg cell becomes the seed and the ovary around it, it becomes the fruit. So I will show you
Fruits.
the parts. Next is the seed dispersal. That means seed has to be sent as far as away from the parent plant. And then next is the germination. So this is a flower. Okay, can you see it clearly?
Yes.
The parts of the flower first we have to learn. This is leaf-like structure, green colored leaf-like structure that is known as sepal. And this is protecting the flower when it is a bud. You know, bud means before it opens. Before it opens,
Yes.
it's like this. So these are protecting them. Okay. Then it is the petal. You can see petal is very colorful, brightly colored. Is it? This is
Yes.
to attract the insect. It's written pollination is either by wind or by insect. So to attract the insect, it is brightly colored. And if you open that one, you can see some structures here. Okay. See, there is a male part and there is a female part. Female part is the biggest one. Did you see?
Yes.
This is the female part and this is the male part. Okay, male part and female part together. Male part is known as stamen and female part is known as carpel. So first we will move on to the picture. Then I have one more flower I will show you so that you will understand. Okay, so we will move on to that.
Now, in order to understand this process, we've got to look at the anatomy of a flower, and we've got to go through the different parts and what their roles are. So first of all, we'll start with the male bits. Now, the male bits of a flower are the anther and the filament, and collectively known as the stamen. The anther is where the pollen is produced, and the filament just holds that anther in position there. And there's usually quite a lot of anthers producing lots and lots of pollen. We've also got the petals, obviously. The petals are there to entice in insects, bees, things like that. So look over here, come and get some nectar, which will be down at the bottom of the flower for them to come and get. Which so happens that when they come in to get the nectar, the nice sugary drink, they rub against some of the pollen, and they then will fly up another flower, deposit that pollen there. Where they'll deposit the pollen is on the female part of the flower, and they'll deposit it at the stigma, which is the top bit there, flower in the center. Stigma is connected to the ovary by the style, and the ovary is where you find ovules, and inside the ovules is where you find the actual ovum eggs. And together, all the female bits.
Okay. So these are parts of a flower. Okay. The first one, have you seen?
Yes.
Sepal, the green leafy part. The green leafy part, it is the sepal, which is protecting the flower before it opens. Okay. Next is the sepal. Sorry, petal. Next is the petal, which is brightly colored. This is to attract the insect for pollination. Okay, have you seen the petal?
Yes.
Then comes the male part of the flower. You can see there are many male parts, but at the center you can see only a single female part. Okay, the male part consists of two things. First is the anther. Did you see?
Yes.
Then is the filament. Okay. The filament is holding the anther. Okay. That's
Mm.
function of
Online.
yeah, online.
This one good.
Yeah, good. It's good.
Huh? Huh.
Okay. This is the main part, anther and filament. What do the filament do? It is holding the anther, and inside the anther, there will be the male sex cell, that is the pollen. Okay, so you can see it in this picture. If you have a flower same like this at home, you can see. Have you seen this? Can you see it?
No.
Can you see
Yes.
this one?
Yes.
The pollen and the inside this anther, there is pollen and there is the filament. Did you see
Yes.
this one? Okay. Then actually, if you were here, I could have shown you the pollen also, but for pollen, we need a microscope. We cannot see it with our naked eye. But when you touch like this, the pollen will fall down. So we can see it through the microscope. Then
Okay.
the male part, together it is known as stamen.
Amen.
Okay. And this is the female part. The female part is, there are three parts: stigma, Omar has come, but Omar, it's very, very late. Omar and Yusuf.
Hello.
Yeah, what happened? Why are you late? Usually Yusuf.
I didn't know.
There was a problem, teacher. So
Okay, because I was waiting, Amar knows, I was waiting more than 7 minutes
Yes.
for all of you, then only I started. Okay, no problem. I will revise, okay? And I have recorded the video, I'll send it to you also. So,
okay, teacher.
this is about the structure of a flower. Okay, structure of a flower. So, each part we were discussing. First is, there is a green leafy like part at the base of each flower. Okay. Before that, what is the importance of flower is? Flower is the reproductive structure of a plant. So when we learn the sexual reproduction of plant, we have to learn the structure of flower, because it is the reproductive structure of the plant. Got it?
Yes.
So each flower has a green leafy like structure at the base of the flower, which is known as sepal. Okay. The function of sepal is to protect the flower before it opens. Then next comes, there's a brightly colored part that is known as petal.
Petal.
Okay, this is to attract the insect. Actually, insects are very helpful in the sexual reproduction of plants. So this is to attract the insects. In addition to that one, it is having nectary glands also. Nectary glands means which is secreting nectar, honey. You know, bees are coming to visiting flowers to get the honey. So these two things, the nectar and the attractive color, this is to invite the bees. That is for helping in sexual reproduction. Then next is the male part of the flower, that is anther and filament. You can see the anther and filament inside. Okay. This is the anther and filament, not the big one, the small one. There are a lot of anther and filament. Can you see?
Yes, teacher.
This one. Okay. This is the filament. And then at the tip of the filament, there is the anther. Have you seen?
Yes.
Okay. So the male reproductive structures are anther and filament. Filament is holding the anther, and anther has the male sex cell in that one. That is known as pollen. Pollen is the male sex cell of the plant. Both of them together it is known as stamen. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Then the female reproductive part. The female reproductive part is this one. See. The female reproductive part is actually only one, but male parts are more. Have you seen the female reproductive part?
Yes.
Yes.
A cup-like structure. Then there is a tube, and under that one, there is the ovary. So you can see here, cup-like structure is stigma, okay? And then the style, then the ovary. Inside the ovary, you can see many ovule or egg cells. Did you see?
Yes.
Yes.
These together it is known as carpel. The female reproductive structures together known as carpel.
Carpel.
Carpel. C-A-R-P-E-L. Carpel. Okay. So the female reproductive structures. Now, the first one is stigma. I showed you it is like a cup-like structure. Is it? See?
Yes.
And from the anther, have you seen the anther?
Yes.
Okay, from the anther, the pollens are falling onto the stigma here. Okay, so from the anther, the male sex cell, that are the pollens, they are falling on the stigma. Okay, stigma is sticky. And once the pollen falls, because it is sticky, the stigma will catch them. Got it?
Yes.
The nucleus of the stigma, it grows, it is coming, the pollen will be coming as a tube that you will learn. I will show you. Then the pollen nucleus, it comes down and then it joins with the ovule nucleus. Got it?
Yes.
Yes.
So the pollen from the anther, it is falling on the stigma, and then it is coming down, and then the nucleus of the pollen, because it is a cell. A cell has a nucleus. That nucleus of the pollen, it will join with the nucleus of egg cell, ovule cell. That is known as fertilization. So got this?
Yes.
Yes.
So which are the male and female sex cells in a plant?
The male is the
Anther
anther and
The male
filament.
sex cell is known as pollen, and it is present in the anther.
Anther.
And the female sex cell is known as ovule,
Ovule.
the ovary.
Ovary.
Got it?
Yes.
So if both of them have to join, first the pollen has to fall on here. Is it?
Yes.
That is known as pollination. Pollination means falling of pollen from the anther into the stigma. It is not necessary that always from in the same flower the pollen is falling on the stigma. What happens is sometimes the bees are visiting the flower so that the pollen is very sticky. It will stick on the wings of bees. And when they visit another flower and they flap the wings, the pollen will be falling on the stigma.
Oh.
Okay, so this is pollination can be either by wind or by insect. So mostly the insects are doing in this way. When the bees comes, The pollen is, if you were here, I could have shown you, it can be seen only through the microscope. It's very small. Pollens are very small and sticky also, so it will stick on the wings of bees. And when they flap their wings, it will fall on the stigma. And if it is different species, like from an orange flower, if the bee visits an apple flower, even if the pollen falls on the stigma, it will not grow. It must be the same species. Then only it can grow. Got it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, now, so this is the anatomy, structure of the flower.
It's called the carpel. So that's where gametes are produced. Pollen is produced in the anther and the ova are inside the ovules. So how the pollination of this is called the carpel. So that's where gametes are produced. Pollen is produced in the anther and the ova are found inside the ovules.
Oh. I'll show you those
So that's where
pollens.
gametes are produced. Pollen is produced in the anther and the ova are found inside.
Okay, see the pollens. These pollens are seen under an electron microscope, because electron microscope can show you very much magnified. Okay, you can see there are different kinds of pollens. Can you see?
Yes.
Yes.
You can see some spiny things there. Is
Yes,
it?
we see.
This is to
Yes. Yes.
on the wings of bees. These spines will help them to stick on the wings of the bees. And you can see some small pollens also, very, very small round pollens. This is not by bees, this is by wind. When the wind comes, these pollens can fall on the stigma. Okay, so there are two kinds of pollens, one with spines, which can be taken by the insect, and another very light and smooth. It can be pollinated by, or the pollination of the
Wind.
we will learn that also after this.
Ovules. So how does pollination occur? Well, I said either it could happen via a insect or via the wind. But what has happened is the pollen has been transferred from the anther of the flower to the stigma.
Okay, see, the first is the gamete formation, pollen and ova. Ova is the egg cell, they are formed. And then is the pollination. Pollen is transferred from one flower to another by wind or insect. So we will see the different types of flowers.
Then it would be called cross-pollination. Occasionally you can get self-pollination where flowers pollinate themselves. Like I said, it's not ideal. So we really want to go from one flower to another. Now, when you look at pollination, you will have actually two types of flowers. Probably never noticed the second type of flower. They're pretty boring. You would have noticed insect pollinated flower.
See, there are two kinds of flowers you can see. Is it this one?
Yes.
What do you
Yes.
think? Is it insect pollinated or
Wind.
pollinated?
Wind.
This one. Look at the petals. Are they big?
Yes, they are big.
So if they are big, then only the insect can come and sit there. Okay, you can see the next one also. Can you see it properly? This
What's this?
is
Flower?
also another flower.
Ah,
Can you see?
yes.
So here you can see this anther is hanging down. Did you see the anther and filament? It is hanging down.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Yes, we see it.
this is by wind, because when the wind comes, it can take the pollens from the anther and then it can carry it away. Okay, but here it is difficult because the pollen and anther, everything is inside the flower. So it is difficult for the wind to carry it. But here it is easy for the wind to carry it because the filament and anther, it is falling or hanging down. Have you seen?
Yes.
Yes.
These are the stigmas. Stigmas are also opened so that when the wind carries, once the pollen is stuck there, it can be there. And you can see it is like feathery. Did you see?
Yes.
The stigma is like feathery, so that anywhere there, if the pollen is falling, it can get stuck into the stigma. Okay? But what about here? These are inside. It is like a cross section. So the full flower is like this. Is it easy for the wind to take the pollen from here?
Okay.
What do you think? In this flower, internet connection is unstable. Okay.
What, teacher?
What about this flower? What do you think? Is it insect is pollinating?
Insect.
Or wind is
Insect.
pollinating?
Insect.
Insect. One thing is, it is having brightly colored petals, so insect will get attracted. And it has nectars here, so that the bees will be coming to take the nectar or honey. And you can see the anther and filament is inside the flower. So it is difficult for, it's difficult for the wind to carry it away through it. Did you see?
Yes.
Yes.
But for this one, this flower, it is easy for the wind to carry the pollens. Okay?
They've got a beautiful colour, big petals, and they produce a nice smell and scent. You probably never really noticed wind pollinated flowers. You see these really on things like grasses. That's because they don't have nice petals, they don't have scent, they don't use insects, there's no point producing them. So we can compare and contrast the structures of insect pollinated flowers and wind pollinated flowers. So insect pollinated flowers, they've got bright petals, as I said, for attracting insects, they've got scent, they have a sticky stigma for the pollen to stick to, and they've got the anthers there, and they're all enclosed inside that flower, so the insect rubs against them. They also produce nectar for the actual insects to have as their meal, as their treat for going to the flower. And they're all enclosed inside that flower, so the insect rubs against them. As I said, for attracting insects, they've got scent.
Okay. So you can see they have large petals.
They have a sticky stigma.
Anthers and stigma are located inside.
Inside that flower, so the insect
Sticky stigma.
They also produce nectar for the actual insects to have.
And they have pollen grains are large and sticky.
Very different.
And nectar is produced nectar.
No scent, no nectaries. Big stigma, which is all kind of feathery, and that's to catch the.
Do this wind pollinated flower, do they need any nectaries, any honey?
No.
No need. No. So they have feathery stigma to catch the pollen. You can see the stigma is feathery. And the anthers and the stigma are located outside, so that it is easy for the wind to take the pollen and carry it away. And the petals are small and green, as no need to attract the insect. So is it clear
So
for
if
you?
it's green,
Yes.
Pollen as it floats across in the wind. Also, the anthers dangle down outside of the main flower, so that again the wind hits them and knocks all that pollen off. Pollen grains themselves are very inflated and small, so they get carried by the wind and blown long distances. So here's a really important table. There's so many questions that come up in the IGCSE about the comparing and contrasting these two types of flowers.
This is actually not included in the syllabus to compare the insect pollinated and wind pollinated flower. I think it is not included, but you must know it. Okay, about the petals, large and bright, they are small and dull, and types of stigma. It is compact and sticky. The other one is large and feathery. The filaments are inside the flower. In wind pollinated, it is outside. Then the pollens are big and sticky here. There, lots of small and light pollens there in wind pollinated. The number of pollens, in which flower it can be more? In insect pollinated or wind pollinated? Where the number of pollens
wind,
can be more?
wind pollinated.
Insect.
Insect?
Insect.
Wind,
It is in wind, because It is not necessary that all the pollen carried by the wind is correctly falling on the stigma. Some of them will be lost. Is it? So there will be loads of small and light pollens. The number will be very high. But in insect pollinated, we can more or less, we can make sure that most of them are going into the stigma, because whenever the bees are visiting flowers, it can go to the stigma. And then you can see the scent. Scent means the sweet smell. It is present in insect pollinated flower, absent in wind pollinated flower. And the nectaries means honey, nectary gland. It is present in wind, insect pollinated and absent in wind pollinated. So is it clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
If we revise, the first one is what is the importance of a flower in a plant? It
The
is
It is
production.
the reproduction part of
reproductive
the
part,
plant.
yes, the
Reproduction.
reproductive part of the plant. And then this flower has both the reproductive part, male and female. So it is known as a bisexual flower. Bi means two. Okay. Then
Mm.
it is the parts of a flower. There is sepal, which is green and leafy like. The function is to protect the flower before it opens. And there is petal. It's brightly colored, large to attract
To
the
attract
To
insects.
attract
both
insects.
pollinate. So you must know what is pollination. Pollination is falling the pollens,
Is the transfer of pollen
transfer of
from female part to
the
male.
stigma,
From male
from
to
the
female.
anther to stigma.
From male.
So anther is the part of the male part of the flower in which the pollens, the male sex cell of the flower is produced. And stigma is a female part of the flower. Okay. And stigma leads to style, then ovary, then D, where the ova, egg cells will be present. Okay. Then the next step is fertilization, but I think now the Zoom session will be ended within 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. So this is what about the anatomy of flower and main of the insect pollinated, wind pollinated flowers. Hope you understood this.
Yes,
Yes,
of course.
Okay, so I will upload the notes and upload the video also, because some of you are absent. So I will upload the video also. Okay, so I'll write the names, those who are present. Ammar, Omar, then Yusuf, Abdul Mahimi. Okay. So, okay, I can upload the video and also I will upload the notes today. And how was your
Okay.
exam?
easy.
Easy, teacher.
Easy, no? Hope all
Yes.
of you,
Easy.
I didn't correct it because I had a class. So I'll correct and send you the marks.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Welcome.